Hello, everyone. I'm Ralph Ventre here at Northeast Conference headquarters in Somerset, New Jersey. It is time for our weekly NEC football Geico Google Hangout. We have Duquesne safety Rich Piekarski standing by out in Pittsburgh, while Central Connecticut quarterback Nick SanGiacomo is in New Britain, where Saturday's NEC opener will take place. We'll get to that in just a moment, but before we go any further, I need to remind you that today's NEC Google Hangout is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Visit geico.com. Now, as we move on to our hangout, I sense a little bit of a different feel this week, and that's because this week, the games start to really count. Conference play kicks off Saturday, October 11th. 3 NEC matchups are on the docket. Central Connecticut will host Duquesne in this week's featured matchup, which will kick off the NEC football on ESPN3 package. So Saturday, October 11th, live from New Britain, it will be the Central Connecticut State Blue Devils against the Duquesne Dukes. NEC opener, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN3. Now, let's hear from our featured athletes and how they're feeling with the start of conference play arriving. We have a current quarterback, and we actually have a former quarterback with us today. We'll start with the former quarterback, Rich, out at Duquesne. Rich, conference play kicks off on Saturday. How does it feel? I mean, the games, it's finally here 6 weeks into the season.
Yeah, it's good. As Nick and yourself know, everything this week and from on now is amplified. As far as Duquesne, our motto is kind of take it, one game at a time, and it's the most important game because it's the next game. With that being said, we do understand that it's conference play, and this is the start of a new season. The non-conference games, are in the back window now, and it's time to level or amplify your level of play and get after it. So it's nice to finally get started with conference play. It's a relief to finally get there. So.
And Nick, we'll move it over to you now. League play kicks off. You'll be at home on Saturday. What's your mindset this week? I assume there's a lot of excitement within the program.
Yeah, we're really excited about this game coming up. Duquesne, they're a really good football team, and it's homecoming for us, so we're just, excited to have the opportunity to play home against our NEC home opener.
And I know that every time you step on the field, you want to win. I mean, that's why you play the game. But is there any extra meaning, the fact that it's a conference game now, and, somebody come November is going to be crowned a champion and go into the playoffs? Any extra feeling about conference games? Any extra significance for you guys? Or do you just approach it as it's just another game? We just play it just like we do every other Saturday.
Well, we're gonna. Oh, sorry, Rich.
No, that's okay. I wasn't sure either. But I was just going to say, we do understand that it's a different level of play now. I mean, it's conference play, and obviously more meaning to it. Like I said before, though, the way we approach it here at Duquesne is it's the next game, and it's the most important game because of that fact. So we're just going to take it one game at a time, as I'm sure Central is as well. So.
Yeah, Nick, what do you have to say about that? Is it just another game? You're going to play it like you do every Saturday? Or, I mean, obviously, like I said, there's a NEC title race that's going to kick off on Saturday. How are you looking at this game? Just another Saturday?
We're going to play Blue Devil football. We're going to play our game, but it definitely, increases our level of play seeing that it's NEC, and there's going to be somebody crowned the champion at the end of the year.
Now, I want to get into a little more detail with you two gentlemen and how you wound up in this spot today. We'll start with Rich over at Duquesne. Rich, I know you played some basketball at Duquesne your freshman year, and when you first appeared on the football roster, you were listed as a quarterback. Now you're a senior, and you've started 27 games in a row at safety. How did you wind up at this point?
It's kind of a wild, few years, yeah. But no, I came here to Duquesne as a quarterback. I was fortunate enough to play both safety and quarterback in high school, so I did have some safety experience. So after that redshirt freshman year, coaches decided it was best to get on the field faster to move to safety. So I was open to it. I always have loved defense and was definitely open to the move. And I think of any transition, if you're going to go from quarterback to anywhere on defense, is probably the easiest transition, just because you are back there seeing the whole field, as Nick knows, and making calls and whatnot. So it's been a nice transition and a good one for me. I've enjoyed it, obviously. So.
And I wanted to ask you about not exactly the transition, but having played quarterback in the past. Does that help you in the defensive backfield? Do you see things a little differently because you are a former quarterback? And do you feel like you can kind of get in the opposing quarterback's mind and kind of telegraph what he's going to do or where he's going with the ball?
You would like to think that, and maybe to a certain extent that is true. But as Nick knows, obviously a good quarterback is going to he's going to do different things to mess around with the secondary's head. So you try not to rely on that. You try to rely on your keys, on your reads. As far as different route concepts and passing concepts and offenses, it does help out just because you understand from throwing those routes and playing that position. But like I said before, a good quarterback like Nick is going to find ways to mess with your head. So you need to be stable, look at your keys, read your keys, and react accordingly based off what you see. So.
Now, Nick, you're the starting quarterback at Central Connecticut State. I know a few years back you were a highly touted prospect coming out of the Jersey Shore down in Barnegat, New Jersey. You went to Tulane. You redshirted your freshman year at Tulane. Now, a few years later, you're a starting quarterback at Central. You're one of the more accomplished quarterbacks in the NEC. You've been averaging over 200 yards a game since you got the starting nod. How did you wind up from Barnegat to Tulane, and now you're starting under center at Central in the NEC opener on October 11th? Kind of take us through that timeline, if you will.
Life is crazy. You can't predict anything. You don't know what's going to happen next. I went to Tulane, had a coaching change, and then I wanted to be closer to home, and found myself lucky enough to be at Central, and I'm just enjoying my time here.
Now, I know from experience, I'm from New Jersey. It's probably about a 3-hour ride, maybe 3.5-hour ride up to New Britain. Does your family get a chance to come to every game?
Yeah, my mom and dad make it to every game.
So that's good. That's good. And obviously it's a little easier for them than if you were playing in the Conference USA or whatever league Tulane is in now. I have no idea with this whole realignment. But obviously Barnegat, New Jersey, and New Britain, Connecticut are a little closer to each other than New Orleans, Louisiana. So I want to keep it here with you, Nick. I know that Rich went from quarterback to safety. Were you always a quarterback, or did you play both ways in high school, or is there another position? If you weren't a quarterback, what position would you see yourself playing?
I've always played quarterback, but if I wasn't a quarterback, I'd probably be a wide receiver. I got good hands.
Do you have better hands than Tyrell Holmes, or no?
No, not that good.
Oh, and I'll get back to Tyrell in just a minute. I want to ask Rich over at Duquesne about going up against a quarterback the caliber of Nick SanGiacomo. You mentioned a couple of times already that Nick is a high-level quarterback, and he's a smart quarterback. You've kind of alluded to that in some of your comments. What is it like preparing for a game against the Nick SanGiacomo, and what can you expect, or what are you expecting from Nick on Saturday?
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun. With Central's offense, they do run a lot of stuff, especially this year, a lot of different packages, and they do a great job, and they have weapons with Holloman and Holmes, like you had mentioned already, Holmes. So we're going to have our hands full. Nick's a great quarterback. He can put the ball anywhere, on the money, and then I think people underestimate, his running ability too. I was watching film earlier and saw him take off on some runs. So, he really has the whole package, and he sees the field. We're going to have our hands full for sure. But that's what NEC football is all about. So we're excited for the challenge and, to start conference play. So.
And now we'll go over to Nick. Nick, what are you expecting from this Duquesne defense on Saturday? I'm sure you've seen some tape of them and what they've been doing lately. What are you expecting?
I think they're a really good football team. They played really well the past couple games, but I think they're just going to come at us and try to hit us hard. Rich is a really good player. I've seen him move in the defense, and he comes up and makes some really nice tackles in the open field. They're just going to, smash football and come at us.
Now, Rich brought his name up, Rob Holloman. I want to talk about the Central Connecticut receivers in a second, but I want to start with Rob Holloman. He's a preseason All-American. He's a Walter Payton Award candidate. Obviously, we know he's Central's starting running back. How does it feel to have a guy like Rob Holloman lining up with you in the backfield, and how does that help you run the game?
It takes a lot off my shoulders. Rob's a great leader. He's also a captain. He's a really good player, and it just makes my job a lot easier.
And what about Tyrell Holmes now and some of your receivers? Talk about them and the relationship you have with them. I bring up Tyrell specifically because it seems you have a good rapport with him. And obviously you guys have connected for a lot of big gains, a lot of yards, and a lot of touchdowns. Give me the scouting report on Tyrell Holmes.
Don't let him score.
I agree.
I'll bring it over to you, Rich, because we mentioned Tyrell Holmes, but Duquesne has some pretty good receivers of their own. Mm-hmm. Are you kind of happy that you don't have to cover Chris King on Saturday and that he'll be on your side rather than, going for 73 yards and a touchdown?
Right. Well, in preseason camp, I have covered him, and believe me, I'm happy I don't have to now starting conference play. So, Chris is a hell of a player. As we know from what we've seen, him do the past 5 weeks, him and Dylan have a nice connection going on right now. So it's really nice to see when you're, sitting on the sideline, waiting for your time to come out on defense, and the offense is doing great work out there. So Chris is playing great, and I'm sure obviously Central is definitely going to be, looking his way. So.
Now, I don't mind a good defensive game. I like smash mouth football, but one thing that intrigues me about Saturday's matchup are both quarterbacks. We've talked about Nick's success passing the football in his time as the starter, but Duquesne has a pretty good quarterback as well. Dylan Beekle's averaging 313 yards per game through the air. Rich, from your perspective, you see this guy in practice. You're a former quarterback. What makes Dylan Beekle so successful? And can you just give us an idea on how he has really taken a step forward this year? We saw the potential as a freshman, and now this year he really seems to have hit the ground running.
Yeah, he has, and it's such a great thing to see for us, especially playing defense. The thing with Dylan is he puts in, the work, outside the field. When I go in and watch film, Dylan's in there with the offensive coordinator watching film. He puts in all the time that he needs to. He's such a smooth quarterback and has such a smooth release. And a lot of balls he'll throw, and I find myself saying, "No, why'd he throw that?" And then it looks like, like the perfect throw, right through a couple guys. It just looks so smooth. So the thing with Dylan is, he always makes the right decisions, and as a defense, we love that. And obviously, like you said, the yards, the touchdowns, he's really hit the ground running this year. So, he will, and we're hoping that, that continues now come conference play. So.
Now, Nick, I know you're probably concerned about your performance and focusing on your team, but do you notice any of the other quarterbacks around the league, and do you at least take a look at them? Or I know in the past when I was speaking with some of our running backs last year, like Dom Williams from Wagner, he would talk about how he liked watching all the other running backs around the league and kind of analyzing their style and seeing what they do well and maybe taking a piece from one guy's game and a piece from someone else's game. Are you aware of some of the other quarterbacks around the league? R.J. Noel at Sacred Heart, Dylan at Duquesne. I mean, you're part of a pretty good group of quarterbacks in this league, and historically it has been style of football, but now they're starting to air it out a lot. Do you notice these other guys around the league, and what can you say about the quarterback play in the Northeast Conference?
Yeah, absolutely. I take a look. I hear from our defense. When we go up against these guys, that they're pretty good players. They have a really good offense at Duquesne, and so I watch some film on them to see what they do differently than maybe I can learn from them. And the NEC quarterback play is just increased over years, and it's getting better.
Now, I want to take the discussion a little bit outside of football for a second. Outside the lines, we'll start with Rich. When you're not playing football, when you're not going to class, what's your favorite thing to do to pass some time? Obviously, you don't have a lot of free time, but when you do, what do you enjoy?
Probably just hanging out with the friends, family. It's like you said, we don't get a lot of time to, do a whole lot of things, in regards to the busy schedule with class and football and meetings and all that. But probably just hanging out with the friends and family and, trying to, when I can, just get my mind off football and relax. So then, when I do come back to football, it's 100%, here we go. So.
And what about open gym? You like to give a good run once in a while, play some hoops? Or?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't picked up a ball in a while, actually, so I'm going to have to, after the season, of course.
I don't know if Coach Schmidt would appreciate his starting safety, going down in open gym. So probably a good idea to wait until after November. Nick, how about yourself? Do you like shooting hoops? Do you play golf? In general, what do you enjoy doing when you're not in class, when you're not on the football field? Do you fish? I know you're from Barnegat, down there at the seashore. So,
really, I just watch film and hanging out with friends, and this football team, which is a family to me. We're always together. I'm really close to a lot of the guys, and that's what I like to do.
So you would describe yourself as a football junkie? I mean, even when you have to be around the game, you still want to be around the game?
Yeah, absolutely.
And who are some of your closest guys on the team? I mean, give them a shout out. I mean, I'm
all right. My center, Hearns Milford. My left tackle, Tyler Hurd. Matt Braddock, Eric McGloin, Rob Holloman, Tyrell Holmes, Scott Benzing, guys that I hang out with a lot.
And I noticed, Nick, you're a pretty smart guy because the first two names that you mentioned were offensive linemen. So you know who's protecting you then.
Yeah, absolutely. I know who's got my back.
And I hope they appreciate that. Those guys up front, they don't get much love, but they sure do a lot of work. Just one more question for each of you guys to set the table for Saturday's matchup. Last year, it was a tough battle out at Duquesne. I believe it was 24-21 was the final. The Dukes were on top. What are you expecting out there on Saturday, Rich? And really, what is the excitement level in the Duquesne locker room with the start of conference play and the fact that you are a defending co-champion and you want to get to the playoffs this year?
Well, the excitement right now is off the charts. Like I said, now it's go time. It's NEC play. With that being said, too, it's the next game, and it's on to Central Connecticut. Like I said before, we have our hands full. I mean, they're going to be either a phenomenal team, a few plays here or there, and it could have went a different story last year. So, we don't look in the past. We don't worry about last year's game. We're just worried about right now and what we can control. But the excitement is really off the charts. Everyone is kind of ready and was getting anxious the last couple of weeks with the bye in West Liberty to get this NEC started or season started. So we're excited, and we have our hands full, and it'll be a nice smash mouth NEC game on Saturday.
Smash mouth? You mean Nick told me that out a little bit here. I think he said he's going to go over the top of the safety and beat him long for like an 80-yarder. No?
Hey, I'm going to try my best so that doesn't happen.
What about you, Nick? Any predictions for Saturday? I know you're a pretty humble guy, but what do you think? 4 touchdown passes and Central wins by 50 points, or what? What do you think? Or are you going to go a Rich's prediction and say that this is going to be a tight one?
It's going to be a tight one. They're a really good football team. We'll see what happens.
Look at that. The politically correct answer from Nick SanGiacomo. No, honestly, I'm looking forward to watching both Nick and Rich compete this weekend, and I'm sure the folks watching are looking forward to it as well, and they will get to see the game live October 11th, 1 o'clock Eastern Time from New Britain, Connecticut. It's Nick SanGiacomo's Central Connecticut State Blue Devils against Rich Piekarski's Duquesne Dukes. For Nick, for Rich, I'm Ralph Ventre. I want to thank you for joining us today in our weekly Geico Google Hangout. Don't forget, Saturday, Nick, Rich, Duquesne, Central, ESPN3, 1 o'clock. We'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for joining us on the Geico Google Hangout.